and I believe you're a world record holder still.
No, not still. World records are meant to be broken. I broke somebody else's and somebody broke mine. That's how it works.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah. You become when you break a record, you simply become the target for everyone else to aspire to. And everyone works towards that end. And if you get to hold it for a moment, that's great.
Yeah. What year did you hold it for?
Oh, good Lord. I lifted in the my competitive career was late 90s and very early 2000s.
Yeah.
I competed
Yeah.
for 10 years.
Yeah. Everybody talked about the your jam press. Your jam press is still famous to this day. Guys still use it on Smith machine or, with his bench press accessory and all that other jazz. I remember watching you on YouTube back in the day when you like were you a young man presenting the jam press first and foremost.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, that was a tool to accomplish a goal, and it worked very well for me. A lot of people have tried it who are not ready to try it. That's a very specific application of an exercise for a very specific purpose,
Mhm.
and it's to lock out your triceps on a bench press, heavy, 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 heavy stuff, and it builds a lot of strength. And of course, if you build a lot of strength, you get muscle mass too. But the difficulty with a lot of people is that they haven't done enough years of training to thicken up the tricep tendons. So
Yeah.
by the time I invented the thing to put all that load on those tendons to specifically increase the tendon strength for the heavy, heavy loads, my tendons were already really pretty thick. I'd
Yeah, I
already
remember
built
looking just
over.
looking at your elbows being like, "Holy shit."
Yeah. So the problem then is with somebody who hasn't done years and years and years of heavy lifting, and specifically for that joint. If you start out and that joint specifically targets and puts a lot of pressure right on the elbow joint, it folds it up and it stretches that tendon around the olecranon. And if you don't have the tendon strength already in place, it's not a very good exercise to start with because it's so effective at building strength. So your strength rockets up real quick, the muscles get strong. But the half-life, I think, for the collagen in the tendons is like 134 days. So you got to replace that collagen at that rate. You can add collagen, but the old collagen that isn't as tough and thick and good, it takes time to get rid of that and replace it with this new collagen that you're building with the new uh, with the new stresses that you're
Yeah.
putting on. So you still got a bunch of old collagen. Now that takes time to get out of there. It's 134 days to get rid of half of it. So you start training with these new loads and you start putting that tendon with that exercise on under a great deal of stress. That's what it's supposed to do though, right?
Mhm.
And you haven't gotten years of tendon thickening behind you already, and all of a sudden you increase your tricep strength. And boy, it's exciting. And people love it it's great. But now all of a sudden you start using really heavier loads in that exercise. And then a lot of people outstrip their tendons' ability to keep up. The exercise is effective. It works the tricep really well. You get really strong, and that's really exciting. And people get really um, they get really enthused about it, and they love using more weight. And that's the whole purpose. But then a lot of people will complain. I
Yeah.
started those JM presses, but I couldn't. Those are terrible for your elbows and blah 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 blah. And I was hearing this and I'm thinking, what's going on with this? Because I didn't have that problem. When I invented them and started doing them, I had already benched over 500 pounds.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
apples to oranges.
I had a decade, right, of strengthening my tendons, so my tendons didn't have that. They were already used to heavy, heavy loads. And so when I put that extra work on that tricep, it just made my triceps stronger. It also increased the strength of my tendons, but they were already strong enough to handle that specific of a exercise.
Just
And so I
hearing
think that's the
just
problem.
hearing that, the 500-pound bench, I get like, I ruptured my right pec, just bench pressing 365. Yeah. So, like, that to me sounds, absolutely alien to even, fathom bench pressing 500 pounds before you really start deconstructing, like, how to get better. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, that's just a degree. That's all. Everybody's at their limit if they're doing a good job. And if your limit's 400 and you're working for 405 or 600 and you're working for 605, it should be the same perception to you. It should
Yeah.
be no difference in the way you perceive it. Every workout is extremely hard, and you're working yourself as hard as you ever have. And every workout is like that. If you're doing this right, every workout is the hardest workout you ever had. There are no light days. There are no days off. There's no deloading. There's no reason to be in the gym if you can't work a load that's going to cause production, that's going to cause change, that's going to cause growth. If you're in the gym and not causing growth, you are wasting the calories and the energy and the effort and the time because you're not getting anything out of it. You can con yourself in thinking that light things are going to make muscles grow, but they don't. You can pretend that and you can have opinions about it, but there's facts. And we don't need to listen to anybody's opinion about it. We can just go with the straight facts. We can skip all the bullshit and all the opinions. And so if you're not in there, having one workout after another workout that is at your best, and then at your best, a little tiny bit better, not 5 pounds better, not 10 reps better, 2 pounds better, 1 rep better. And you
Yeah.
keep doing that. So if you can lift 400 pounds, and I say, Vince, I'm going to give you a week, and I'm going to put 401 on the bar. Do you think you can find a way to lift that? Let's say you're deadlift, and you deadlifted 400. You've done it. Your muscles can lift it. And I go, okay, I'll give you a week. Can you come back and do 401? What would be your answer to why you couldn't do that? How could you justify? No, there's no way I could do it. There's no way I can lift 400. Yeah, that's fine, Jam. But there's no possible way I'm going to be able to lift 401. I can't do it.
I think
Who can say that?
I think people do 401 not even realizing it most of the
So
time.
one thing I did when I was younger is I took 2.5 pound plates and I took them over to my drill press and I started drilling holes in them and taking metal out of the plate till it
Mhm.
weighed 1 pound. And I could add it to one side of a bar and I could put 400.5 pounds on and lift that. And I could
Oh,
put
wow.
401 and 402 and 403 and 404. And I never had a workout in 10 years that wasn't my best workout ever. In some way, I either got a few more reps or I moved up in weight somehow. Now, those movements were not 10 and 15-pound jumps, but they were consistent. And there were
So
no
it's
light training days and there were no off days.
so it's a
If I wasn't
decade.
supposed to be in the gym, I wasn't in the gym.
So it's a decade of progressive overload.
Yeah, but small. Because I kept reasoning. Do you know what I benched right before I benched 700?
699.
695. And so people go, well, I'm like, no big deal. No big deal. I had benched 500, 550, 570, 580, 590, 600, 650, 675. And by the time I benched 700, it was 5 fucking pounds more. Excuse me. It was 5 pounds more. Big deal. It just happened to be at a different degree.
Yeah.
It was just 5 pounds more than I'd already done. Do you think I thought I couldn't do it? Like there's no way I'm going to do it? 5 pounds more after already having done 695? After having lifted 400, if you convince yourself that you can't lift 401 or 402 or 405, you don't really belong in the sport. You shouldn't be competitive. That's not for you.
Yeah.
Because if you have convinced yourself that you can't do a little more of what you've already done, if you've convinced yourself, I don't have any more to give, I'm empty. There's nothing, I can't do any better. Okay, that's defeatist. That's a defeatist attitude. So every workout I had was better than the last workout. In some way, I either got a rep more, sometimes even a half rep more. But I kept track of everything, meticulous record.
How did you sustain that without any injury?
Technique. So either Vince, I've never had an injury in the gym, and I lifted as much weight as anybody else has ever lifted in the gym. You know, I lift the same weights that the people are lifting today with all my accessory lifts were as heavy as anybody's lifting now. Now the top end stuff has changed because of the gear that they wear, but
Yeah.
basically I lifted the same weights that everybody else has lifted at the top end of any. And they were all getting hurt and I wasn't. So you have to make a decision. Either I am the luckiest bastard on the planet, or I'm super, super, super special and blessed, or I just took it very seriously. I got really good technique, and I lifted a little more than I did last time, and a little more, and a little more, and I built that up safely on a solid base. I didn't take any giant leaps flying off of a building. I built another brick in the wall and another brick in the wall. And I never had an injury because I had a dedication to doing it right. I was
So,
dedicated to. Go ahead.
did you ever have a period of time where you had to lower the weight to improve that technique, where you worked up to a certain level and you had to back off to
Not
refine
really.
technique?
Yeah. I understand what you're saying, and it's a good idea. In my case, my technique, I didn't really understand that technique was part of this in the beginning. I just thought you got big muscles and you lifted more weight.
Yeah.
And then I started to compete, and then I'm thinking, well, wait a second. And I started to coach my ex-wife, she was a world champion, 3-lift world champion. And I started trying to think about the mechanics of the lift to get more for her. She's a 123 competitor, bench 303. And she started to improve, not because she got any stronger, but because she got more leverage. And we kept doing that with her. And then I'm thinking, well, there's a better way to do everything up until the bones that you have and the flexibility that you have is in the best possible position it can be. Everybody has different bones a little bit.
Yeah.
But the laws of physics are the same and the laws of mechanics are the same for everyone. Gravity is the same for everyone. Your muscles are the same as everybody else's muscles. So all those things are the same. So I reasoned that if you could get somebody to work hard enough to get the best leverage that was possible within the rules of that lift, then they could actually get more weight on the bar without getting any stronger and without gaining muscle mass. Now you can always gain muscle mass, you can always train to get stronger. And you could say, well, to hell with technique. I'm just going to do that. And that's fine. But you can never be your best if you do that.
And you
You'll always have
usually are
left
more
that
susceptible to
on the
injury.
table. Well, of course. But you will always have left that on the table. No matter if you set records even and you haven't mastered your form, it's still pounds that you didn't bother to get. And you could have. So it's not your best. You could be the best in the world and beat everyone. That doesn't mean you are your best. And if you have a world record and you didn't master your form, hey, congratulations. A world record is a world record. You did the best, but you didn't do your best. And I know that because you left some on the table. You left some pounds of leverage on the table because you didn't bother to do the work and have the discipline to do it right. Anybody, Vince, anybody who argues that, I have good form, but at the top end, I get a little loose, I get a little sloppy, I cheat a little bit. What they're saying is, like I have trainees, like, how's your bench going? They're like, well, I got 350, but you wouldn't have liked it. And what they're saying is, I didn't do it right.
Yeah.
I got it, but I didn't. I let myself do it wrong, and I counted that. I gave myself credit, even though I didn't do it right. They didn't have the discipline to fail with good form rather than succeed with bad form. And that only works for a little while. Because as you go up and up and up, you can't make the argument that here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a superior result by doing it almost all the way right, as opposed to all the way right.
Yeah.
I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to do it almost right, and I'm going to expect a superior result than doing it all the way right. And that's illogical and irrational. And only a fool would talk like that. But there's plenty of that talk around. I hold good form and then it gets heavy and I cheat a little bit, I get a little sloppy. Well, there you go. You thought that you would do better than doing it correctly by doing it wrong. That's your argument. I cheated a little bit, but I got it. Well, you're making the case that if somebody does it a little bit wrong and not all the way right, those results are better than you could have gotten if you had done it right. Now reject that. That's faulty logic. So doing it right, having a strict dedication to technique, which is also a dedication to yourself. It's self-respect is what it is. There's no problem with taking risks in a competition. I'm all right with that. Sometimes you put yourself out there at a competition, but not in a gym, not in training, not every day in, day out. Never put yourself at risk.
Well, because it's training, right? Like it is the practice for the main event.
You will perform the way you practice. I used to have kids and I coach them and I tell them to hustle. And they'd be like, "Oh, coach, it's just practice. I'll hustle in the game." I'd be like, "How do you think you're going to learn how to hustle if you don't practice hustling? How do you think you're just going to do something in the game that you don't know how to do because you didn't bother to practice it? You're going to play exactly like this in the game because this is what you're practicing to get better at, loafing, coasting. This isn't gonna. You can't just pull. You can't put something into a bucket and then flip it over at the game and think that something different is going to come out. Whatever you put in that bucket and you flip over, come game day, that's what's coming out. You put shit in that bucket, shit comes out. You put gold in that bucket, gold comes out. And that's just these are all simple logic things. People get upset when their wishes don't come true. When the things they would like the world to be like aren't the way the world is. And so then they come up with excuses and opinions and limits and self-limitations and they blame other people. And the world is just the way it is. I don't like some of it either. But it is the way it is. And the sooner you see it for what it is and then learn to deal with it as it is, the sooner your results, you have a right to expect results then because you're doing things right. You have no right to expect good results if you do things poorly. You just haven't earned the right to do that.
Do you
You're
ever
just
think
hoping
that
for something for nothing.
now, not to interrupt you, I apologize, but
That's fine.
do you ever think like going back to shit in a bucket or gold in a bucket? Do you ever think people put shit in the bucket thinking that it's gold in the bucket, but in essence it's
I,
shit in the
I,
bucket?
yeah, sure. I think people are told, here, put this shit in a bucket. It's not really shit. It's gold. Sure. People buy into bullshit, but that's the problem with due diligence. If you listen to somebody who lies and you don't bother to see if they are or are not a person that lies, you might get lied to.
Because that's the one thing I see the most is that, people will think like, oh, this is excellent. And then I'm like, well, it's kind of subpar. Like it's kind of just the bare minimum. And, there's an eons of other levels to it. And essentially I find that people will put that in the bucket thinking that it's gold, when in actuality it's shit because it's the bare minimum.
Well, they find out when they've kicked the bucket over.
Yeah.
You can't hide it forever. You know, you get found out if you put yourself on the line. If you empty the bucket, if you never empty the bucket, maybe what you got on top is gold, and you think, and it's just gold on top, right? And you got a bucket full of shit with a little bit of gold on top. You only tip out a little bit. You can hide that from yourself. Again, it's about self respect.
Mhm.
It's your bucket, and you have to do your due diligence to decide what goes in it and what stays out. And if you get duped, if you get lied to, that's not your personal moral failing. It's a failing of effort on your part. The person that lies is the moral failure, not the person that believes the lie. If you lie to me, Vince, I'd just be like, oh, okay, I believe you. I believe you, right? Because that's understood. When you communicate with somebody, it's an understanding that I'm not going to lie to you. If I thought you were going to lie, I wouldn't even listen to you. But I assume that you're not going to lie to me. And so if you do, if you decide to make that moral choice, I'm going to tell JM something's not true. It's not morally wrong for me to believe you. I'm not a fool for believing you, right? You're an asshole for lying. I'm not an asshole for believing the lie. Now
I
you
was just
lie to me
having this
twice.
conversation. I was just having this conversation with a gym owner who she's the sweetest gym owner ever, and her name is Heather. And she gives everyone the benefit of the doubt. But the husband is skeptical of everyone. And he is the truth interpreter, right? He is the one that's like sifts through people and is able to see kind of like see through people in a way. And she very much wants to trust everybody. And he is awesome. They're both incredible people. But I see what you're saying in that, it's not anyone. The only person who's the dickhead in that situation is the person trying to get one over.
Yeah,
It's not anyone else. It's you who's lying directly to someone's face in good faith.
yeah. So it's still a failure on your part if you believe a lie because you didn't do due diligence. You didn't do enough work to find out if this person is a liar or not, if they are trustworthy. That is on you. It's not a moral failing. It's a failing of effort. It's laziness. You didn't check them out enough,
Yeah.
right? And so on important things, you better check people out. If you just told me, hey Jim, I had Chinese for dinner yesterday, I'd be like, okay, I will take it on pure faith. That's all the evidence I need because this is such an ordinary claim. I had Chinese. People have Chinese. Chinese food exists.
Yeah.
I saw a ghost. I had Chinese dinner with a ghost yesterday, and he brought food from the spiritual dimension, and we ate it. Now that's a different claim. Now I'm going to require a little more evidence because the claim is so extraordinary. It's going to require extraordinary evidence. You say I had Chinese yesterday. I'd be like, okay, I believe you. I believe you just on your word. That is enough evidence for an ordinary claim. You make a spectacular claim about something, then I'm like, okay, well, maybe. What do you have to back that claim up? I just told you. I told you. I promised you. Not good enough. That'd be fine for if you just told me, you know, I have a I have a car at home. But if you told me I have a 1968 gray ghost Rolls Royce in my, I'd be like, well, you got a picture of it? I need more. than
Yeah.
just your word. It's not enough. And that's on me to require that. That's my choice of how much I'm going to require, and it should match the seriousness of the claim or the importance of the claim to me. If I really cared a lot about what you ate yesterday, then I'd be like, well, you said you ate Chinese, but how do I know? Because this is important to me. I really care. So how are you going to prove to me? What evidence do you have that you had Chinese? You got a receipt. You got some wrappers in your. You got some dirty dishes in your trash. You have a person that will vouch for you. I mean, there's if I care about it, even the smallest claim needs to be backed up.
Yeah. I
So it's
love I
about
love good Chinese.
yeah. Well,
Good
yeah,
Asian food is the best.
yeah. It's very good. Yeah. So claims and truth and believing people has a very um it's a very well outlined thing that we can look at to ask, should I ask more for this? You should ask more if it's important to you and if it's a claim that requires more. So when someone lies to you and you don't care if they lied, like I do not care if you had Chinese yesterday. I could care less whether you had Chinese. So if you lie to me about that, it won't bother me if I find out the truth that you had Burger King. That won't affect me at all. But if it would break my heart to find that out, like if you lied to a spouse or somebody and say, "Hey, where were you yesterday?" and you were out doing something you shouldn't have been doing, and they were to find out, and it would break their heart. All right, they should ask for more proof of where you were. Where were you?
I guess a part
Mm.
of that though is that even in the context of a relationship, right? I always have the good belief that everything comes out in the wash. But it will be revealed eventually. And
If you kick the bucket over, right?
yeah.
And in competition, we do that, right? So the bucket gets cut. You have to put up or shut up in competition. In the gym, people can just tell you how strong they are. And if they never put it on the line, you'd be like, I don't really know if he can or not, right?
Yeah.
And in a relationship, if things come to a head, you gotta put up or shut up. And so it's not a moral failing to be lied to. It's a moral failing to lie, but it is a failing of your bullshit detector, of your system of uh, epistemology, how you decide what is true and how you get the information and how you make decisions about what you think is true and what isn't. And if you don't have a good system developed for yourself of being able to tell the difference between what sounds true and what is true, you're going to have a lot of disappointments in your life. You know, sometimes
Yeah.
people lie; they don't know they're lying. Even they themselves are deceived. There are religions all over the world that have absolute adherents that will give their life up for that religion.
Mhm.
Now, they can't all be correct because they're mutually exclusive. So it's not like, well, they're all right. They're all a little bit right. Some of them say, absolutely, this is this and
Yeah,
that
there's
it
only
can't
one
be that.
truth, and it is only our truth, and
Yeah,
that
right,
is the one
right.
truth. I was actually
And so
just having
those
that
people,
conversation. I was
okay,
just literally just having that conversation, which is only one truth is not the truth. It is a truth, but there are multiple truths in multiple different directions, and it all
no,
depends on the perspective
no,
of the individual.
nope, nope, nope.
Really?
That's exactly opposite of what I'm saying. That's precisely the opposite thing I'm saying. What I'm saying is there are people that will believe that they know the truth. They will believe they have the truth,
Hmm.
like in this religion as opposed to that religion. But these people will also believe, honestly, they are honestly believing it. But they both can't have the truth, a truth. There is a reality. And if
Yeah.
your beliefs do not comport with reality, you do not have a claim to any truth. You may believe it, and you may tell other people, and you may pass on something that's false because you believed it, right?
Yeah.
And that happens. So one religion, they get people to join their religion, and another religion says no, don't join theirs, and they believe these are true believers. That doesn't mean they know the truth.
Yeah.
The truth has to comport with reality, and there are tests for that. There are
Can
there
I
are
can I hold
strong
you?
tests for
Can I pause for like 10 seconds? I'm sorry. I got to take the dog is acting up real 30 seconds.
Come here, kitten. Come here. Come on, get up here. Nope. Yeah. So no, I don't believe that everybody can have their truth. They can have their opinion. Everybody can have their viewpoint. Everybody can have their perspective. That's true. But not everybody has a claim to truth. Truth demands evidence. If your opinion doesn't have the evidence to support it, it's just merely a claim with nothing under it. It's just flapping out in the breeze. It's not anchored to anything. We anchor things in facts, and they have to be demonstrable. You can't tell me about what you feel. You can't tell me about what you hope. I hope things. You're allowed to hope for things. You're allowed to feel things. But those cannot be confused with facts and truth. And too many people do. Too many people believe their beliefs as if and we're taught this from toddlerhood. We're taught if we believe strong enough, we can make something happen with our belief. Our belief will make it true. It will bring it to pass. Pinocchio wanted to be a real boy, and he really believed that. And he wished upon a star, and it came true. And we're taught this. We're taught about, praying. And if you pray, it will come true. It will. And if you hope, and if you wish, and if you throw a penny and if you cast a spell, and if you do all these things, but those things don't work. They don't have any evidence that they work. They have just as much evidence that they work and don't work. If I throw a penny into a wishing well and that wish comes true, how do I determine that it was the penny in the well and not just a coincidence? How do I sort that out? If I pray for something and I get it, how do I know that it was the prayer that caused me to get it and not just something else? If I hope for something and it happens, how do I know it was my hope and my belief that made it true? And people talk about manifestation and they talk about, I'm all for positive thinking. I'm all for putting positive energy into your life everywhere around you. But that's no substitute for work. It's
No.
it's a poor substitute for work. And hopes and dreams and wishes and prayers don't get the job done. Because sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Doing absolutely nothing, no hoping, no dreaming, no praying, also sometimes works and sometimes doesn't. So how am I to sort these things out? There's a way. You keep track. If every time you pray for something to a certain God, every time you get it, I'm going to listen. Demonstrate that. You pray for something, let's see if you get it. All right? That's one. That's some evidence. All right. Do it again. All right, that's more evidence. The more evidence you can produce that every time I pray to this certain God, I get what I want, the more evidence you have, the truer it becomes, the
Yeah.
more it comports with reality. It lines up with reality. If sometimes you pray and you get it, sometimes you pray and you don't get it, that's just like people that don't pray. Sometimes they get what they want and sometimes they don't get what they want. There's no difference there. So something works, it will be demonstrable that it works.
Yeah, it's
You will get to
provable.
show. If you have a lucky football shirt that you wear when your team plays, you have to demonstrate that your lucky shirt is what's helping them win. Otherwise, it's just flapping in the wind. It's just childish and fun and magical. And the world is just not full of magic. The interesting thing about magic, that fake magic is true. Like if you go to a magic show and the guy's faking you out, that happens, right? That really
Yeah.
is. That's a thing. But real magic isn't a real thing. Fake magic is a real thing. It's a trade. It's a gimmick. It's something that people do, and you can go and be amused by fake magic.
Yeah, it's a skill and it takes place in
But
reality.
real magic doesn't exist. It can't be demonstrated. And so, but again, from childhood, we're compelled to think that our belief in our own head has some bearing on the world, and it has little bearing on the world. What does have bearing on the world is what we do with our hands, what we say and do. That has bearing out there. Not what we hope for in secret or uh, wish for. You can still wish. Oh, my cat's just killed a little mouse. Is that what it was? I'll let you play with it. Um, yeah. So beliefs and truth. We should try. Here's a good way to live. We should try to believe as few false things as possible and believe as many true things as we can. That will lead to a more authentic life. A life that is more clearly aligned with reality. And we'll have fewer disappointments and we will know how things work. And when you know how things work, you can choose to work them, right? If you don't know how things work and everything's a mystery to you, good luck in the world. How are you going to tell if you're being lied to or not? Because don't throw that mouse on me. Yeah. Uh, so we need to be able to tell the difference between bullshit and truth. We can't just go, well, that's your truth. I'll let you have it. No, that's your opinion, and I'll let you have that. You can be as wrong as you want. That's fine. But you don't get a claim to the truth if you can't demonstrate it. Truth is demonstrable. Facts are demonstrable. Reality is demonstrable. If you don't have evidence for it, what you should do is wait to believe it until there's evidence. You shouldn't believe things because they're nice and they you, you know, I'm going to believe this promise because if it comes true, I'll be a millionaire, right? I'm going to believe that I'm going to win the lottery because if it's true, then I win all that money. You can't believe things because you like them and because they'd be good for you if they were true. You should wait until there's a reason to believe something.
That brings me to, something you talked a lot about and something you've harped on me about, which is something, and I always think of you too, and I get so much shit for it. I do, is you can't build something from nothing. And the truth is that matter takes matter, right? And
Yeah.
there's been claims that so long as you are progressively overloading, as long as you are training with enough mechanical tension, that you can build something from nothing, right? You can build something from no matter. You don't necessarily need excess calories to develop new tissue, right? And so inevitably that is the new consensus, and you've
Yeah.
always harped on and you've always been a demonstrator of
Sure. Yeah.
you need matter to build matter. And it doesn't just come out of thin air.
Yeah.
And so I myself have probably, and I'm being selfish, is I have done this thing where I have probably for the past 5 years done an excess of cardio, done an excess of effort to try to stay lean or as lean as I possibly can, even when I'm not competing, trying to adhere to as tight a diet as I possibly can with reason. And so I come to this precipice, this point where I'm at a point where I can't progress any further with what I'm doing, and I need not only to not do less cardio because I was doing 90 minutes of bike a day for years, but
Why?
also in an attempt to increase my metabolic need to feel more satiated by eating more food, by making
Whoa, whoa,
more
whoa, whoa, whoa,
room
whoa, 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 whoa. That's so convoluted. Let's look
to
at
be able
do
to
do you
just eat
mind?
more and stay lean, JM.
Do you well that's true, right? So if you wanted to consume a lot of food and stay lean, you did the right thing. So if the goal, so if we want to know what's right and wrong,
But that works
that
counterproductive to building
what's the
muscle.
goal? No, if the right, if the goal is building muscle, then it's the wrong choice. So I know what's right and wrong once you tell me what your goal is. If you want to drive to Cleveland from where I am in Ohio, I have to go north. If I want to drive to Cincinnati, I have to go south. So if you tell me what our goal is, I can tell you at any point whether a right-hand turn, a left-hand turn, or going straight is right or wrong, good or evil, better or worse, because I know where the goal is. And so where I'm at, the more things that head me north. So if a right-hand turn is north, then a right-hand turn is the right thing to do.
Yeah,
It's the moral thing to do. It's the good thing to do.
it's very simple.
A left-hand turn at that juncture is evil. It's going to move me away from the goal. But at a different crossroads, maybe a left-hand turn now is going to move me north. And so now a left-hand turn becomes good because of the goal. Their actions are not good and bad in and of themselves. They are good and bad in relationship to a goal. Good and evil, moral and immoral, right and wrong have to be. I have to know what the goal is before I can tell you if it's wrong. So Vince, is it right or wrong for me to turn left?
It depends on where you're going.
Depends on where I'm at, and it depends on what my goal is. So once I tell you the goal and we know where I'm at, we can say, here we are. Should we turn left, right, or go straight ahead? Well, what is good? What is evil? Right? I can tell now what is right, what is wrong, what is better, what is worse. So if you have a goal and your goal is to eat a lot of food and not get fat, you did the right thing.
So
But
coming back,
if your goal was to gain weight and put mass on, you did not do the right thing. You sinned. You did the evil thing.
so
You did something
JM,
immoral to the goal of putting mass on.
let's play two scenarios. What is the most effective way to put on muscle tissue?
Yeah.
And then
You
we'll do
you
the inverse.
yeah, okay. You have mechanical tension in a progressive overload, and you feed the muscle an excess calories so that it can turn those calories, those molecules, into body tissue. There is only one way to put matter, in your body, and that is through your mouth.
Now, but is there
So
a point in
if you
diminishing
want a
return?
bicep that's bigger, go ahead.
Is there a point in diminishing return where, like,
Yeah,
let's say
yeah,
tomorrow I train tomorrow morning, first thing, and on nothing but a Gatorade. So I was ravenous when I got out of the gym, and I consumed 10,000 calories a day for 6 months. And I did this over 6 months. Is there a point in diminishing return where you're just getting fat for the sake of just getting fat,
absolutely.
where you're not just putting on tissue,
Yeah,
you're just being a
absolutely.
glutton?
Have you ever done that, Vince? Have you ever put on so much weight that you got fat?
Yeah, I've done
No,
it.
you haven't. I don't
I
believe you.
definitely have.
I don't believe you.
Okay. I got
I don't
photos.
believe that. You'd have to have evidence because I don't take your word for that. I don't believe you have.
Yeah, it was in 2017. I was working with John Anderson and he had me I was on 7,600 calories a day. It
And
was
you were only gaining fat?
no, definitely not.
Well, you said okay, so maybe I
I got
misunderstood what
fat,
you
but I didn't
said.
only gain fat.
Okay, so that's not how what I took it. So the point of diminishing returns is when you're no longer putting on the muscle, you're no longer serving that goal, but you're just getting fat. And there's definitely that point. And you can there's degrees of it, right? You can overeat by more or less, but you have to overeat by some because you want some of that food to be converted, the molecules, the carbon, the nitrogen, the oxygen, the hydrogen, the molecules of the food. You want them to turn into carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in your muscles, protein synthesis, the nitrogens. So you want to take them from outside your body and put them inside your body and become part of the structure. You can't manufacture them, like you said, something out of nothing. You can't manufacture those molecules inside your body out of nothing but
So
hope and
if
hard
someone
work.
if someone was trying to gain weight, let's take me for example. If I was like, JM, I need to get as muscular as possible.
Okay.
Um, how much do I need to overeat?
Yeah.
Do I continue doing some kind of cardio to maintain just cardiovascular function and health, right? And what would that look like? Would it look like just training 3 days a week?
Yeah.
What would that
Those are
look like?
excellent questions. So what we know for sure is that if you want to gain weight, muscle weight, right, you have to have a surplus of calories to do that. So there has to be some surplus. But we also know that there's a point of no return, right? Where you're not gaining any more muscle, you're just gaining fat, right? And so we don't want to go to that extreme. So that's a continuum, right? And so what we have to do is we have to decide at what point on the continuum is too risky for putting on too much fat. So we have to define what too much fat is. Are you willing to put on 2 pounds of fat for every 1 pound of muscle?
Absolutely.
Are you?
Well, yeah, a
So
pound of
that so
muscle.
then if I told you to put 30 pounds on and 20 pounds of it would be fat, but 10 would be muscle, would that be a good deal, bad deal?
It's a successful off season.
Yeah, very, right? And here's why.
Incredibly.
Yeah, and here's why. Because it is easy to lose a pound of fat. And it is very, very, very hard to put a pound of muscle on. So if you can put those 10 pounds of muscle on, and it costs you 2 pounds of fat in excess to make sure that you had enough calories, a safety zone, because you want to be over, but not too far over, right? And I think this is a good limit, 2 to 1. And you can measure this. You have skin fold calipers and body weight, and you can measure this reasonably. So you can put on 30 pounds and have 10 pounds of meat, of brand new meat, if you train hard enough and rest enough on your body for that 30 pounds. And then you can cut it off. You can cut the fat off and keep all the muscle. You don't have to lose any muscle when you die. You can just burn fat. And fat is easy to burn. Let me ask you this, Vince. Could you imagine yourself or somebody else like me? Could you imagine somebody buckling down and in 1 week burning off 5 pounds of fat? Is that possible? They really
No.
tried hard, right?
Oh, I don't think so. I think 5 pounds of
Yeah, you
water.
can do it. Sure.
Really?
Yeah. All right. How about 4 pounds? People lose more than that. People lose more than that when they really buckle down. Yeah. But could you imagine it? No, you can't. It's too much. You don't think people can lose 5 pounds of fat in 1 week?
I guess they can. They can drop 5 pounds of weight. I don't think it's fat
Well, do you
tissue.
think they
Like
could lose 5 pounds of fat? Fat weight.
I mean, if they went from eating
Let me
10,000
just tell you
calories.
they can. It doesn't matter. I
Yeah,
don't care
yeah,
about your
yeah.
opinion.
I see what you're saying.
It can be done. So whether you believe you can do it or not, people do it. So that it's conceivable though for most people to say, yeah, a person could lose 5 pounds of fat in a week,
Mm,
but it is inconceivable to think of anybody putting 5 pounds of muscle on in a week.
no.
It's absolutely out of the question. You don't even have to think about it. Nobody, it would be incredible. 5 pounds a week. That'd be 10 pounds in 2 weeks of muscle.
Yeah.
That would be like,
That's a decade. It's almost like, yeah, that's it. Like,
right, in
yeah.
2 weeks. It's not conceivable, but it is conceivable that if somebody dieted hard enough and did enough cardio, they could lose 5 pounds of fat in a week. So this is how easy fat is to lose compared to how difficult putting a pound of muscle on is. Easy to lose a pound of fat, hard to put a pound of muscle on. So it's not the same pound for pound in value. One of them takes a little bit of effort to lose fat, and one of them takes a humongous amount of effort gaining a pound of muscle. So if I can put on 10 pounds of meat, muscle, and I got to pay after I put it on, I got to burn 20 pounds of fat that I put on in excess of the 10 pounds. I gained 30 pounds, but I got 10 pounds of meat on me now. What a great deal to just burn off those 20 pounds. Get on the bike, stop eating so much, right? Not hard. And so I think it's important to visualize how much meat 10 pounds is. And you have had a New York strip steak, 16-ounce New York strip,
It's
uncooked.
my
What's it
favorite.
look like? What's it look like? Imagine a steak in front of you right now. All right. New York strip, 1 pound. How big is it? Get that image in your
Like,
mind.
like,
Okay, get that
not
image in
that
your
thick.
mind. And now lay 10 of them out. Five, a row of five, and another row of five. And then get yourself some duct tape in your mind. And take one of those steaks and put it on your arm and duct tape it on there, that meat. And then take another one. Now you still got 8 left. Put them on your body. Put 10 pounds of muscle, of meat, not cooked meat, muscle like it is in our body.
Contractile tissue.
Yeah. Yeah. Now tell me that you wouldn't do whatever it took to burn 20 pounds of fat off to have that mass there.
But do you ever find that like the people have the discipline to just eat? Like I see this a lot where guys will have the discipline to go to the gym and lift heavy and get, you know, uh
They
uh
do.
uh and get fat and almost delusionally fat where they just don't know how heavy they are and then they
You
just
can measure that, Vince. You got skin fold
yeah.
calipers and circumferences, and you can look in the mirror. And so this is measurable. Again, we're going to deal with facts and not feelings and hopes and dreams and wishes. We're just gonna deal with facts. We're just gonna deal with reality as it is. Right? It's a tool. It's truth. It's
So
the truth.
things are just very black and white where it's you have to eat in excess to put on muscle tissue. Would you just not do any cardio at all and just focus on the training and
No,
the recovery?
no, I did that. I did that for a year or two, and I got really out of shape, and it was terrible. So I said I'm always going to walk a little bit every day at a minimum.
Mm.
I may not do 4 hours of cardio, which is what I did when I cut weight. I did 4 hours of cardio, interval training,
Really? 4 hours of interval?
part-time
How
job,
did
four
you how
hours
did
a
you
day.
maintain so here's my question, right? Like if you're more in the like what I'm trying to understand is that you ate as much as you needed to put on weight and you would do some walking, but
And in
train
excess, I put on for every 10 pounds of muscle I wanted, I put on 30 pounds of total body weight. And 20 of that was fat. But then I got rid of the fat. I bulked and then I cut. And then I bulked and I cut. I didn't forget the cut. I
but
didn't
then
just bulk up.
but the cut was essentially you were super low calories,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
4 hours of cardio. How did you maintain training performance and muscle tissue?
I only had to train 1 day a week. I only had to bench press. I had one workout, and I could fund that with carbohydrates. I could take 1 day off of dieting per week to make sure that I had glycogen and fuel for that workout. And so 12 hours, 2 hours, 20 minutes, and then within 30 minutes of the workout, I had carbohydrates and lots of them. And so I didn't lose any fat on that day, but I had plenty of carbs to burn during the workout. And so I did one workout because I had a very specific task to do. You know, it wasn't hard for me to lose all the fat very rapidly without losing any strength because I worked out hard once a week, brutally intensely and brutally short with tons of carbohydrates. So I didn't burn
So,
any muscle off. I
where
didn't
were
burn any
your
muscle off.
calories? Where were your calories at when you were doing the 4 hours of like, how did you not have an
It started.
immensible amount of fatigue the days you're doing cardio with low calories to burn the fat?
There was fatigue. Yeah,
Okay.
brutally hard.
And
But it was
then
short. But it was short. I didn't have a long drawn out. I lost that body fat as fast as I could so I could get back to eating and growing more strength. I got rid of that 20 pounds of fat pronto. Usually
now,
20 days, 20 days, 30 days.
did you
I was
eat
done.
did you eat how much in an excess did you eat to put on those 20 pounds? What did that look like? Did it look like just whatever, or did it look like,
I started
what is
in a,
relatively healthy food?
it was not healthy food. There's no such thing as unhealthy food. There are unhealthy quantities of food. There is no unhealthy food. There never has been. What do you think an unhealthy food would be?
I think that
How about
someone's
this? Let me tell you a story about the people that live around me. They're farmers. And here's what they eat every morning: bacon, sausage, whole milk, butter, bread, eggs, gravy, biscuits. Every single fucking day of their life. They don't have any heart disease. They're like 72 years old, still out there working. My neighbor, he's probably 76. He's still out there working. So if you burn the food off that you eat, it doesn't matter what you've eaten. You could,
this is so like this is like so simple but so true. I was just thinking about this. Was
yeah,
like
let's just deal with the truth. Let's just stick with that. That's a good
I
idea.
was just
Let's
talking
just
about this with my wife yesterday. Was I was like, all these coaches are doing these high carb refeeds, right? And it makes the dieting harder than just staying in the deficit, getting the fat off with like by just staying in the calorie deficit, right? You need some carbohydrates to maintain training performance, but
you
just
do.
just enough carbohydrates to maintain training performance.
Right. You
And I
just
know
fuel
you
what
had
you just fuel the workouts that are very specific. So you could fuel 3. That would still give you 4 days to be in a deficit per week.
and then so what does that so let's say my maintenance is 3,000 calories. That's about what it is. What would that look like week to week if I was trying to, let's say, lose body fat and then gain that muscle tissue?
Well, why don't we do it the other way around? Why don't we gain the muscle tissue and the fat so we have some fat to lose?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So it doesn't make sense the other way. So let's gain the 10 pounds and the 20 pounds of fat. 10
Yeah.
pounds of muscle, 20 pounds of fat. What do I have to eat to do that? All right. So you're going to have to work out your basal metabolic rate, which isn't hard. You can go online and do some, you get close, right? And then you begin to learn to tolerate. I remember the first time I tried to eat 4,000 calories a day. It was tough. I was like 22, you know, and it was tough. It was really hard to do. And I thought maybe I couldn't do it, but then I got to 4,500. And I did made some good progress on 4,500, and then I didn't. 4,500 wasn't enough to put to put tissue on anymore because my metabolism went up because my basal metabolic rate went up because I put on muscle tissue after a couple seasons of up and down and up and down at 4,000, 4,500. So I had to learn to eat 5,000 and maybe 5,500 and 6,000 and 6,500 and 7,000 and 7,500. I was eating 8,500 calories a day, month after month, day after day. It was like Thanksgiving Day every day. Like I call Thanksgiving amateur hour. That's for amateurs. I did that every day.
JM,
And
I have
every day.
a ridiculous like I've been asked to be a professional eater with my
Yeah.
appetite,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
it I almost, this is intriguing for me, this conversation, because it makes things so simple in that it
Let me tell
essentially.
you, they are simple, Vince. I saw this fighter and he broke his neck, but then he came back and he won. And this woman was interviewing him. I saw a movie about his life, but he was being interviewed at the end of the movie. And he had some trouble with some people stealing money from him, and he was a top pro. And she's saying, I know you had a lot of trouble with a lot of your, you know, people stealing money from you and people lying to you and everything. And she said, "What's the biggest lie that anybody ever told you?" And he goes, "Well, it's not that simple." She goes, "What's not?" No, that's it. That's the lie. The lie was people telling me that it wasn't simple. It is fucking simple. They lied and said it wasn't simple. They obfuscated it. They confounded it. They confused it. They complicated it. And it's not complicated. It's not complicated. It's simple. And that's the truth. And so if anybody is telling you something like, and it's complicated, then that person doesn't really know what they're talking about. Experts, people that really know their shit about anything, will not confuse you when you talk to them. They will enlighten you. They will make things make sense. If you can't follow along, they're trying to confuse you because they don't know shit. A
So it's
real
funny,
expert,
you get a
a real
lot of
expert can make things simple.
dieting coaches that make things almost like to the point to where you're second guessing yourself, right? Like I know I figured out just the hard way through trial and error. Like I need some amount of dietary fat every day, or else like you're wired and tired, and I just can't sleep. I can't wind down, right? For whatever
Yeah.
reason. But I eat.
That's the carbs. The carbs are keeping you. The low carbs are keeping you from not sleeping. But go on.
Really?
Yeah.
So
But go
you
on.
don't necessarily need an excess of dietary fat. You could live on just protein, carbs. Because if
No,
I've done the protein,
no,
carbs.
you can't. You can't do that. No, you need balance. You need protein, fat, and carbohydrate.
So if you were in a deficit, would you eat some fats?
Yeah, yeah. I don't really think that you need to uh, look at the macros all
It's
that
just
much.
calories.
It is just calories. That is the most important thing. Now you can fine tune and you can choose. You can make good choices about protein, fat, and carbohydrate. So, but the bottom line is the caloric need that the body has because the
And
body can
you're a big
turn
one
protein.
on people overeating protein and not enough carbohydrate.
Yeah, they just don't know the truth. They have an opinion about something, and boy, people have strong opinions, and they are really convinced and convicted. They'll get mad at you, in fact. But then when you ask them for the evidence, uh, I feel that, I think that, I heard that. Wait. I don't need that. I don't need any of that. What's the fucking evidence? What's the truth about this? Well, this one guy said, and he did real good, and blah blah blah. That's not science. That's not biochemistry.
Yeah, because
Biochemistry,
it comes down to 2 to 3
biochemistry is
grams.
biochemistry.
Yeah, 2 to 3 grams per kilo is more than ample, right? And really, one
Way
point
more.
six grams per kilo of lean
Yeah,
body mass.
even that's too much. It's not necessary. Yeah. So there's some things going on in the world of science, and just like anything, it can be corrupted. And there have been colossal failures of science in 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 recent times. Like one of them was the lipid hypothesis. Another one was like the heart disease. If you eat a lot of fat, you're going to get heart disease. I just told you about every fucking farmer within 30 miles of me
And it's just
eats the
activity.
same.
It's just
They don't.
activity.
Yeah, they burn it off. They exercise.
So
The heart
here's my
disease
question:
doesn't
is
come
that
from
if
heart
activity
disease.
works is an inverse of putting on lean tissue, right? If you do too much activity, would you be too fatigued to train hard enough to put on the muscle tissue? Or if I like, let's say I continued to the cardio I was doing, but I ate in a calorie surplus, or what I
Yeah,
thought was a calorie
you
surplus.
can't just run the machine fast and fast and fast by putting more gas in it. You can't run the engine faster and faster and faster just by putting more fuel in it, right?
There's no
So
magic, right? It's just calories in,
no,
calories out.
yeah, yeah. So you have to have the calories going where you need them. So after you train, nothing happens. You didn't put any muscle on in the gym. You didn't get stronger while you're in the gym. You got weaker. You got tired.
Yeah, it's
If anything,
catabolic
the
activity.
muscles Yeah, if anything, the muscles lost glycogen and lost creatine phosphate, and they're smaller after a training session. So that's not where muscle gets put on at a gym. That's not where it happens.
So it's just
So
staying in a calorie surplus with the training exposure day after day, month after month, week after
yeah,
week.
mhm.
It's a continual stimulus. It's not just putting 30 pounds on in as fast as humanly possible. It's a controlled
No, no,
surplus.
it's not. No, in fact, you don't put the extra pounds on if you don't have to. As long as you're gaining strength and gaining muscle, then don't increase your calories any. If you're putting on a pound a week, don't move up in calories.
So then
That's okay. 2
on
pounds a week.
your training day when you were losing weight, how did your surplus for that training day not just
Well,
wash out
we're
the calorie
bouncing around a
deficit for
little
the
bit.
week?
Let's go back to the question I was answering before about
Yeah.
we can come back to that in a second, but let's finish this out. So the food that you eat after a training session, where do those calories go? Well,
Muscle
some of them go
glycogen.
to the immediate say
Muscle glycogen. There's GLUT4
some,
expression.
yeah, yeah, some do, right, sure. So some of it go into immediately replenishing the needs of the muscles so that it can continue to function. Like if you ran from a bear and you got away, right, and you depleted your muscles because you ran at top speed, but then another bear came along and your muscles had no, and you didn't have time to eat, you'd be in trouble, right? And so evolution has it that when muscle glycogen drops, the body really goes into overdrive chemically to replenish the glycogen. It tries really hard to get it back up so that if you have to run from a bear again, a couple minutes later, you have a chance anyways, right? You can't go to a workout and we don't and deplete everything and then literally not be able to get out of the gym. You recover. The body's immediately in recovery, the end of a set. I mean, you might have two more sets to go, but your body doesn't know that. It just finished that last set and it starts the recovery process right now. It doesn't know you're going to do another set and further deplete it. It starts to recover and put stuff back into the muscle so that it
Now,
can function again.
that just brought up a thought I had. You were talking about training stimulus and feeling depleted. I monitor weight after training sessions or 2 days subsequent after a training session after inflammation is kind of washed off a little bit. I've always noticed with free weight exercises that
I'm going to
I'll
stop you
get
right there, Vince. I'm going to
I'll
stop
get
you right
depleted
there.
faster.
No, I'm going to stop you right there. Write that
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
and let's finish this idea.
Sorry.
Let's not pivot. Let's finish this concept. So as soon as you finish uh, a a set, your body starts the recovery process, and you
Mhm.
need calories for this, right? So the liver will dump some glycogen, some glucose into the bloodstream so that the muscles can suck it back up so they can keep functioning if they need to. And if you're doing another set, they better, right? Because you're going to do another set. But when you actually leave the gym, the body's already in the state of beginning to recover. So there's this immediate recovery that you have that allows continued function, right? The gas tank isn't empty and it doesn't stay empty until you eat. The body itself will give itself some uh, effort to replenish the immediate loss. That's immediate recovery. And then there's a longer term recovery of the muscles. And this is where things like bringing the glycogen up to full norms happens. And this is where resynthesizing all the creatine phosphate happens and getting back to normal storage levels. And this is where like any sorts of damage and repair, like it's wear and tear on the system. You ran the machine fast, right? It might need some replacement parts, not on a large scale, but on a small scale. So there's immediate recovery, there's middle recovery, right? And repair. And then you need calories at that point still to grow. Because we already discussed the foolishness of thinking I can just make matter, make muscles out of thin air. I got to have matter. So I have to have calories. I have to have particles of food, particles, molecules of food in there. And I also have to have more food because now I got to have energy to run all the enzyme systems that synthesize those particles of food into muscle. So that's even more calories that I need. So I need immediate calories for immediate repair or immediate recovery. I need more calories, more food for the medium term recovery and repair. I need calories there, food there that I can synthesize into muscle, and I need calories so that I can run the systems that do the synthesizing to grow. So I have to do these three things for sure, plus have energy to synthesize, but I'm not done. Wait, I'm not finished. It is very, very, very hard to run that perfectly from workout to workout to get the exact amount of calories that I need for recovery, repair, and growth. If I knew from workout to workout exactly how many, I could just eat those because I would grow. Remember, because I'm eating enough surplus to grow.
Yeah.
But how do you know that? Who knows that? So I personally don't want to take the risk of doing a workout that would stimulate this much growth, but I get this much -1 growth because I didn't feed it enough. So you know what I'm going to feed it? X plus 2. I'm going to go ahead and feed it even more calories than I did for the immediate repair, the middle repair and recovery, the growth and the running of the growth of the system. I'm going to even feed it more calories than that, just to be sure I don't accidentally shortchange myself from that workout. I already did all the work. I left the gym already. I should get a certain amount of growth from that if I trained hard. I don't want to get almost all that growth. I don't even want 99% of that growth. I want 100% of what I deserve.
This
The
is
only way
like
I can
this
be sure.
conversation makes things so simple. It's so simple,
That,
and
that's
it just
that's
it
because
makes
they are. The
sense
biggest
because it's
lie.
like
The
you
biggest
just
lie is
eat in just enough of an excess, more
yeah.
in an excess to get that training stimulus, right? To get that adaptation that you want. And you sit on one fucking horse when you're trying to sit on that horse. And you're doing enough activity so that you're maintaining, cardiovascular function and all these other things, right? Just enough, like let's say walking or what have you. And then when you lose weight, you sit on that fucking horse and you have your deficit days where you're doing 4 hours of cardio and your calories are low. But then on your training days, you put in enough carbohydrates to maintain training performance, to maintain the tissue, but
Right.
not enough to the where you're pouring in excess calories and you're putting on weight. And that's predominantly carbohydrate, not protein.
It's all carbohydrate. I don't need protein to run. You don't run your muscles on protein.
Well, listen,
Who told you
JM,
that?
I love and appreciate you, but
Where'd you
I
get
gotta
that
get
from?
going. It's
All right,
we have to do this again. This is fucking
sure.
great.
So that's the thing. That's why you want the surplus above the surplus. And you only know if you have that surplus if there is evidence of it. What's the evidence? You put on some body fat. It got stored. It didn't get burned off. If you're not putting on body fat,
Then you're not
you
eating
don't
enough.
have evidence. You don't have evidence that you're in a safe zone for getting all you can out of every single workout. You're taking a risk. You hope you got it just right. But I don't hope for that because I don't want to play games with my training. I work too hard and too heavy for me not to get the full benefit from my training.
Yeah.
So I eat enough for the immediate recovery. I eat enough for the mid recovery and repair. I eat enough for the growth. I eat enough to fund the energy that it takes to synthesize the growth. And I eat a little more than that.
Well, listen,
Just so I don't cut this short anywhere.
yeah. I gotta
Because you
get
know what you
going.
cut short? You
Yeah, I
cut that
gotta get
last
going.
thing through. All right.
Listen, I love and appreciate you. Can we do this again?
Yeah.
Thank you for your time, JM. I really
Sure.
appreciate you.
All right, Vince.
All right. Thank you so much.
Take care.
All right.
Bye.